The day my brother stopped talking to me, there was no shouting, no fight, no harsh words. There was only silence. I still remember how quiet the house felt that morning. Not peaceful quiet. The heavy kind. The kind that sits in your chest and makes it hard to breathe. I was standing in the kitchen holding my phone, reading his last message again. It wasn't a goodbye. It wasn't even angry. It just said, "I need space." I didn't reply right away. I thought if I waited a little, he would send another message. Maybe say he didn't mean it. Maybe add a smile emoji like he always did. But nothing came. That was the beginning, not the end. Just the slow beginning of losing my brother while he was still alive. We grew up sharing everything.
Food, secrets,
Dreams. And now, suddenly, we were sharing nothing at all. I kept asking myself one question, over and over. What did I do wrong? Sometimes, the most painful endings don't come with drama. They come quietly, like a door closing so softly that you only notice it when you try to open it again. And my brother and I were only 2 years apart. He was older. Not by much, but enough to always feel like my protector. When we were children, he walked me to school every day. He never held my hand because he said it made him look childish. But he always walked on the roadside closer to the traffic.
I didn't understand why back then.
Now I do. We grew up in a small house. Nothing fancy, but it was full of warmth. Our mother cooked simple food.
Rice,
Lentils, vegetables. Our father didn't talk much. But when he smiled, it felt like everything was okay. At night, my brother and I would lie on the floor during power cuts, staring at the ceiling. We would make stories about the shadows on the wall. He used to say, "One day, I'll build a big house. You'll have your own room." I believed him. I always did. He was the kind of brother who fixed my broken toys instead of laughing. The kind who stood up for me when others teased me. To me, he wasn't just my brother. He was home. Old family house. Evening light through windows. 2 children sitting on the floor. Soft laughter. Distant sounds as we grew older. Life slowly pulled us in different directions. Not suddenly. Just quietly. He became more serious. More responsible. Always thinking about money and the future. I stayed emotional. Sensitive. I felt things deeply. People used to say, "You both are so different." But I never believed that meant we would drift apart. When he got married, I was happy for him. Truly happy. I helped choose gifts. I welcomed my sister-in-law with a smile. I told myself, this is just a new chapter. Not the end of the old one. But things changed in ways I didn't understand at first. Phone calls became shorter. Visits became less frequent. And slowly, conversations turned formal. "How are you?"
"I'm fine."
No more stories. No more laughter. Still, I kept trying. Because that's what you do for family. You don't stop trying. The first crack was small. So small that I almost ignored it. It was during a family dinner. I made a simple comment. Nothing rude. Nothing personal. But my brother's face changed. He didn't shout. He didn't argue. He just went quiet. Later that night, I asked him softly, "Did I say something wrong?" He looked away and said,
"No."
"It's nothing." But it was something. From that day on, I felt like I was walking on thin glass around him. One wrong step, and everything could break. That I replayed my words again and again in my mind. Was I too honest? Too emotional? Too much? Sometimes love doesn't break because of hatred. It breaks because of unspoken expectations. And I didn't know what he expected from me anymore. I tried calling him more often. Sending messages. Checking in. Most times he replied late. Sometimes not at all. I told myself he was busy. Life gets busy. But deep down, I felt it. Something was slipping away. One evening, I stood by the window as rain fell outside. I remembered how we used to sit together during storms, counting seconds between thunder and lightning. Now I was counting days since our last real conversation. That I didn't know, then that silence can grow. That it can stretch itself between two people until it becomes a wall. And I didn't know that one day, my brother would stop talking to me completely. Not because he hated me, but because something inside him quietly closed after that dinner. Things did not fall apart all at once. They thinned out, like fabric that slowly wears down until one day you can see through it. My brother was still there, still present at family events, still polite, but something important was missing: warmth. When I spoke, he listened, but his eyes wandered. When I laughed, he smiled, but it did not reach his face. I told myself I was imagining things. I am sensitive, I thought. I read too much into silence. But silence has its own language. There were little moments. Moments that seemed harmless to others, but stayed with me. I would send him a message, sharing something from my day. A memory. A photo. Hours later, I would get a short reply. Okay. Good. No questions.
No curiosity.
Once I asked him if we could meet for tea, just the two of us. Like old times. He replied, "Let's see. I'm busy these days." He never followed up. That night, I sat on my bed holding my phone, staring at the screen long after it went dark. I wondered when I became someone he didn't have time for. Did I want to be honest here? This story is not about blaming my sister-in-law. She was not cruel. She was not loud. She was quiet, careful, different from me. Where I spoke freely, she chose her words. Where I shared feelings, she kept them close. At first, I tried hard to connect with her. I really did. I asked about her day, her family, her likes and dislikes. She answered kindly but briefly. Over time, I started to feel like an outsider in my own family. Not pushed away, just not pulled in. And my brother, he stood beside her, as he should. But slowly, I realized something painful. He stopped standing beside me. Family gatherings became difficult for me. Everyone sat together, talking and laughing. I sat there too, smiling, nodding, pretending I was fine. My brother spoke more to others than to me. He included everyone, just not me. Once our mother asked him, "Did you talk to your sister about the plan?" He replied,
Oh.
"I forgot." Forgot. That word echoed in my head for days. How do you forget someone you grew up with? I started questioning myself constantly. Was I too emotional for him now? Too open? Too old-fashioned? Maybe he thought I was a burden. Someone stuck in the past. I told myself to be quieter.
To speak less.
To not bother him. I thought if I made myself smaller, he might come closer again. The real trouble did not begin with a big fight. It began with a misunderstanding that was never cleared. One day, my brother heard something about me.
Something I never said.
Someone told him that I was unhappy with his choices, that I was complaining behind his back. I wish he had asked me. I wish he had come to me and said, "Is this true?" But he didn't. Instead, he believed it quietly. I noticed the change right away. His voice grew colder. His replies shorter. One evening, I finally gathered the courage to ask him, "Did I do something wrong?" I said softly. He sighed. A tired sigh. He said, "I don't want drama. I just want peace." Drama. That word hurt more than anything else. I was not trying to create drama. I was trying to save us. That I tried to explain myself. Slowly. Carefully. I told him I never spoke badly about him. That I only ever worried about him. He listened. But I could tell he had already decided something in his heart. He said, "Let's not talk about this now." And that was it. Some conversations end without resolution. They don't explode. They just stop. After that day, the distance grew faster. He stopped calling altogether. If I called, he didn't answer. When he did reply, it felt like a duty, not a desire. I stopped sharing my feelings. I stopped asking questions. I didn't want to be drama anymore. But silence did not bring peace. It only brought loneliness, and why Mother noticed before anyone else. Mothers always do. One evening, she said gently, "Why don't you and your brother talk much these days?" I smiled and said, "He's busy." She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said nothing. Later that night, I heard her praying quietly in her room. That sound broke something inside me that I began to pull back. Not out of anger, out of exhaustion. Always reaching hurts when no one reaches back. I stopped messaging first. Stopped checking my phone every hour. I told myself, if he wants to talk, he will. Days passed. Then weeks. Nothing. That's when I understood something important. Sometimes people don't stop loving you. They just stop knowing how to be close to you. And sometimes pride is quieter than love, but stronger, that I did not know it then. But we were heading toward a moment that would change everything. A moment where silence would finally speak. A moment where my brother would make a choice that I was not ready for. And once that choice was made, there would be no easy way back. The turning point did not arrive suddenly. It came slowly, wrapped inside an ordinary day. Those are the moments that hurt the most. When life looks normal on the outside, but something inside you quietly falls apart. It was a family occasion. Nothing big, just one of those gatherings we always had. Everyone was there, smiling,
Talking.
I remember standing in front of the mirror that morning, adjusting my clothes again and again. Not because I wanted to look good, but because I wanted to belong. I told myself,
Today will be different.
today we will talk like before. When I arrived, the house was already full of voices. Laughter drifted out through the open door. I stepped inside slowly. My brother was sitting in the living room, talking to someone. He saw me. Our eyes met. He nodded. Just a nod.
No smile. No greeting.
I nodded back, pretending it didn't hurt. I told myself not to overthink it. He is busy. He didn't mean anything by it. But my heart already felt heavy. Later, when things were calmer, I found a moment to sit near him. I spoke softly.
Carefully.
How have you been? I asked. He replied,
Fine.
that was all. I waited, hoping he would ask about me.
He didn't.
So I said, we haven't talked in a while. He looked away. Yes, he said. That happens. That happens. As if our distance was normal. As if it meant nothing. Something inside me tightened. After a long pause, he finally spoke again. I think it's better if we keep some distance, he said. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't sound angry. He sounded calm. That scared me more than anger ever could. I asked quietly, why? He took a deep breath and said, I don't want misunderstandings. I don't want stress. I just want peace in my life.
Peace.
As if I was the noise that I end that moment, many thoughts rushed through my mind. All the years we shared, all the nights we talked, all the promises. I wanted to remind him of everything, but I didn't, because I could see it in his eyes. He had already made up his mind. I nodded slowly. I said, okay. That was all I said.
No begging. No arguing.
I didn't want to force my place in his life. If someone needs peace away from you, you step back. Even if it breaks you, that I excused myself and went to the washroom. I locked the door and leaned against it. For a moment, I just stood there, breathing. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't hurting, but because something inside me went numb. Sometimes pain is so deep, it doesn't come out as tears. It comes out as silence. After that day, things changed completely. My brother stopped calling, stopped messaging. I stopped too. Not out of anger, out of respect for what he asked. Distance. Weeks turned into months. Festivals came and went. Birthdays passed. I sent him a short message on his birthday. Happy birthday. I hope you're well. He replied the next day. Thanks. Just one word. I stared at that word for a long time. The family noticed. Questions came quietly. Why don't you two talk anymore? Did something happen? I smiled and said, nothing serious. I protected him, even in silence, because love doesn't always look like closeness. Sometimes it looks like letting go. One evening, my mother came to sit beside me. She held my hand. She didn't ask questions. She just said, it hurts when children grow apart. Her eyes filled with tears. That's when I finally cried. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quiet tears falling onto my hands. I said nothing. What could I say? That night, I understood something painful. Closure does not always come with answers. Sometimes it comes with acceptance. I stopped waiting for explanations, stopped replaying conversations. I accepted that my brother chose distance, and I had to choose dignity. Life didn't stop. I still woke up every morning, still went through my days. But something was missing. There was a space in my life where my brother used to be, and nothing could fill it. Sometimes I would see something that reminded me of him. A song, a memory. And for a moment, I would want to reach out. But I didn't. Because silence had become our agreement, that I realized something slowly. Not all relationships end with goodbye. Some end with distance. And that distance can hurt just as much. I stopped asking myself what I did wrong. Sometimes people change. Sometimes relationships change. And sometimes love survives only as a memory. I thought this was the end of our story. I thought silence would last forever. But life has a strange way of returning things to us. Not in the way we expect. Not in the way we want. But in the way we need. And one day, something happened that made me see everything differently. For a long time, nothing changed. Silence stayed where words once lived. Distance stayed where closeness used to breathe. I learned how to carry that silence with me. Not easily, but quietly. At first, it felt heavy, like a stone in my chest. But over time, it became lighter. Not because it hurt less, but because I stopped fighting it. There is a strange thing about loss when the person is still alive. You don't grieve openly. You don't get comfort easily. People don't understand why you're sad. They say things like, "At least he's fine. At least nothing bad happened." But something did happen. A bond broke. And I had to learn how to live with that empty space. At the family table, with that missing voice in my life, I stopped waiting for messages. Stopped hoping for phone calls. I focused on my own days, my own peace. Not because I stopped loving my brother, but because I learned that love does not always mean holding on. One day, while folding clothes, I caught myself smiling at a memory of him. It surprised me. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad in that moment. I just remembered him as he was,
not as he became.
That's when I realized something important. I had forgiven him, not because he asked, not because he explained, but because I didn't want bitterness living inside me. Forgiveness doesn't always need a conversation. Sometimes, it's a quiet decision you make for your own heart. Months later, something small happened. Nothing dramatic. I saw his name on my phone screen. For a second, I didn't move. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. I just looked at the screen. Then I answered.
"Hello," I said.
There was a pause. Then his voice.
Soft.
Careful.
"Hi," he said.
We didn't talk about the past. We didn't talk about distance. We talked about simple things. Our mother. The weather. The call was short. But when it ended, I felt something warm instead of heavy. Not hope. Not sadness. Acceptance. That call didn't fix everything. We didn't suddenly become close again. We didn't return to what we were. But I understood something I hadn't before. My brother wasn't trying to hurt me. He was trying to protect his own peace. And I wasn't wrong for feeling hurt. I was just human. Sometimes, two people can love each other deeply and still not know how to stay close. That doesn't make either of them bad. It just makes them different. After that, we spoke occasionally. Short calls.
Simple message. No expectations.
And that was okay. I learned to meet him where he was, not where I wanted him to be. The love changed shape. It became softer, more distant, but still real. This experience taught me lessons I never wanted to learn. That not all relationships are meant to stay the same forever. That silence can exist without hatred. That love does not always mean closeness. And most importantly, that peace sometimes comes from letting people be who they are, even when it hurts. If you're listening to this and thinking of someone you no longer talk to, someone you still love, I want you to know this. You're not weak for missing them. And you're not wrong for letting go. Some connections live on, not in daily conversations, but in quiet memories. And that is still loved, and why brother and I may never be what we once were. And I've made peace with that. Because love is not about possession. It's about respect. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is step back, wish someone well, and carry the good memories forward. I still think of him, not with pain, but with calm. And that, for me, is enough.